All right, hello, and welcome to our guest speaker presentation for this evening. I'm Laura Thorne. I am the CEO and co-chief Beest of Wildebeest Publishing. And over the last couple of years, seeing authors get published and then seeing what happens, the questions that come in from them afterwards, after they're published, a lot of them have to do with, is this real? Is this a scam? Should I do this? So this seemed like a good topic to present that authors would relate to all around, for those that are not only already published, but then those that are looking to get published, and know to expect that once you're an established business and you're putting a website out there and your content tagged information, you kind of end up being a target for this more than regular. So we're going to talk about the usual scams, what they look like, because I think even normal stuff people don't really know about. And then what are you likely to encounter when you are a published author? And let's just dive in. So find my tools. So this is important right now because if you are a published author, or whether you're already an author, you might notice that you've gotten more people contacting you for marketing, for services. Hey, I want to help you publish your book. And it's hard to differentiate the ones that are actually real and the ones that are fake. So there's a whole variety of different types of scams that come through. So we're going to kind of cover as many of those as I can think of, and that I had examples from my own inbox. And then if you have questions, feel free to reach out or contact us, and we can help you out with that. This industry is not very well protected for authors and for small business. You don't have a lot of opportunity to have someplace to go to or someplace to report it. And that's really the sad thing, is that it's kind of, you have to accept it as a fact of life once you are putting yourself out there and becoming a business, and your information, especially if you do become an LLC, your information is public. There are things you can do to protect yourself and minimize it. I'm not going to cover too much of that, but know that if you do create an LLC or even just have your information out there, the cool thing is we have ChatGPT now. So just do a quick search and say, hey, this is where I have my stuff listed. This is what I have out there. You tell me what I could do to safeguard myself, and you can instantly get some answers on that. It may tell you things that are a little too advanced. So just do what you can do, and use this information I'm going to share with you to kind of vet the things that come your way. And so the other thing of that is you just really need to have this in your awareness toolbox, because if you get, as an author, especially an indie author, you're not likely generating a ton of income from your books. So you don't want to waste it anywhere. So you don't want to accidentally pay a marketing firm that isn't legit $3,000 to do something that they never actually do. So that's the other reason to get protected with this knowledge. So what are some of the common scams? There are the ones that everyone gets. These are the product scams, like, hey, here's an invoice for this, you bought this, or here is a receipt for something, or here's something, pay us on PayPal. And you're like, wait, I didn't buy this. Phishing scams. The difference between a product scam is, somebody selling you something that doesn't exist, or that isn't actually going to deliver what they say it's going to deliver. So there's a gray area there too. Sometimes companies are legit, but that doesn't mean what they're selling you is worth it. And then there are the phishing scams. These are the ones where they try to trick you into sending them money. So it could be an invoice that for something you didn't buy. It could be, my family in India is suffering and they need your help, something like that. Like, you'll see those types of bleeding heart stories. If you don't know the people, and then you hear the horror stories about someone has the name of your actual brother, cousin, someone you haven't seen in years. Those are even beyond phishing scams and a full-on con. So you have to watch out for those. And those are just the regular common ones. They're not necessarily the ones that are going to come up because you've been a published author. But the ones that are, you then have vanity publishers disguised as traditional. So you have, even if you just published, you might hear from another publisher who wants your next book, and they will tell you so much flattery. They will tell you how wonderful you are, how great your book is, and that they want your next one, or they want to upgrade you to an audiobook, or they want to do something like that. These are real, and they're more than likely not going to provide you what they said they will. And sometimes they might be completely fake altogether. So watch out for those. Then there's pay to play awards and bestseller gimmicks. Cool, congrats on publishing your book. They're likely going to tell you how great it is. They may not actually include the title of your book in there, just tell you how great it is. And then they might also tell you that there's some service they can provide to make it a bestseller. And this one actually is a scam that happens before you even publish. If you are searching for a publisher, you may find someone who says, oh, we have this service and we're going to guarantee that you're going to be a bestseller. That possibly could happen, but let me tell you, most of the books that we recently published have hit bestseller without us doing anything extra except the stuff we're supposed to be doing. So you have to watch out for that, because yes, they may be able to get you that, but you might not have needed to pay for it to begin with. And then what does that mean? So if it is a service you're looking for an actual publisher, just get more details on what's included. What are they actually doing? What's the plan to get you to bestseller? Don't just sign the box and say, yeah, I want to add that service on. Then there are fake agents and editors, people who want to do these services, but they aren't actually doing it, or they're going to give you a bad service in return. Marketing firms, huge on marketing firms, because once they find out that you're published, especially you have an LLC or you just have a new website, there are tools and scraping tools and all kinds of ways for people to find you. So it's not like they have to actually know you. It's not like they have to, it's not something to be scared of. It's not like they're stalking you or anything like that. They just have ways to buy your information or to find it scraping online. So, but once you're a business, you are much more searchable and findable than you were before. And then there's contest. If you're going to sign up for a contest to become an award winner for poetry or an award winner for your novel or whatever it is, just make sure that the contest, look for past year's results, look and see if it is worth your fee. There are contests you can join for free. So if your budget is tight, look for another option. And then there are, again, before you publish, these predatory contracts. I've seen companies that look amazing. And I look them up because I'm like, wow, these people look cool. I want to see what they're doing. And then I dig deeper and they're an AI company. There's nobody actually doing the work for you. They're saying, we'll edit, we'll publish, we'll do all this for a low fee. And then what they're really doing is just pumping in AI, generating some stuff. And then you don't get all the extra meta. You don't get all the extra real editing, all the extra human personal touch that will actually make your book go somewhere or do something. And those are very hard to get out of, I have heard, once you're in them. So you've got to be careful of those. And that's a matter of reading contracts and looking for examples. If you see books listed on a website for a publisher, check those titles. Are they real? I've seen also a title of a book, it has 5 stars on their website showing all these things they've published. And then you go and look on Amazon, you try to find it. You may even find it, but there's no reviews or there's very few. You can't zoom in enough. The quality of the picture isn't enough for you to see much information. So they're very good at making things look good. But if you dive deeper into the details, you might find that things are just not quite adding up. And then I have the ... dots here because there's any number of different ways. And with AI becoming smarter and more useful for anyone, these scams are becoming much more prolific and much more frequent. My inbox is currently full. If I look at my spam, it's ridiculous. So it may be time for me to get a new email address, which is another thing that you may end up doing if this happens to you. And I don't think I actually just thought of this. If you have your author email, you might want to then be using, and I have been doing this for years, you have a junk email. So if you sign up for stuff, if you are downloading things, don't use your actual business email for that. If you're using Heather B. Keaton author at whatever, don't use that to download stuff, because that's where your email gets sold. That's where it goes to other people. And then you might end up having your actual email need to be regenerated or changed at some point because it's getting overrun with these things. And another rule of thumb is never complete a form or download something if you don't know who it's from. So that type of scam is the one where they send you something, they try to scare you that, this is expiring, or we've lost your details. You need to confirm who you are. We need you to re-enter your information, or thank you for signing up for this. We need some more details about you. Like, don't fill out a form unless you know what it is. And those are the types of scams that are trying to put stuff on your computer. And once you've clicked on it, they can gather more information from you just from your click. So you want to make sure that you're careful about that. And the other thing I will say is that everyone gets caught. I got caught today. I'm going to tell you about that in a little bit. So it's totally fine. Don't feel bad about that. But if you ever do complete a form or download it, I'm going to give you some steps on things that you should do also. So I touched on this a little bit, but how they find you, they again have tools. They can scraping just means a bot crawls the internet or the dark web. There is really an actual dark web, and they will look for databases. They could even search for these awards and see who's won book awards in the past and pull numbers and pull information. They may be looking for the book launch announcements. That it depends too on whether it's a one-person operation who is using tools to help, or maybe there's a whole group of people who are actually physically looking for stuff. So there's no telling how these things get generated, but these are some of the ways that they find your information. They may be looking through social media, and you may be getting from speaking events. There could be they could go right on Amazon or right on Goodreads and be pulling this information and trying to target authors specifically. So they might be doing something where they're looking for new authors or new books that are published all the time. They might be looking at that bestseller list to see who's on it. And then another way that they get your information, specifically your email, is if you have downloaded something, like I said. So that's why you want to use possibly a ghost or a junk email so that you can download stuff and not worry about that. And then, if you're subscribing to things that you're not really interested in, they'll go to your junk box. And once someone has your email, legit companies as well, you're not reading the fine print. Sometimes they have the right to, you've given them the right to sell your information, and they may sell your email to someone else. And the thing is that you had control over whether that person sold your email or not, but then they could resell that to 100 other different people or companies. And that's when things may get crazy. I probably have signed up for something at some point and then went, wow, all of a sudden I'm getting a whole bunch of contacts or communication, buying, selling a house, the same sort of thing happens. And then they get resold. And then that's how it doesn't go maybe one place, it goes 10 places. And then let's more talk about now, okay, that's how scams, where they come from, why you're getting them. But let's talk about telling if it is a scam. And the number one thing is, if it looks weird, it probably is weird. If someone sent you an invoice for something and you're like, I don't think I bought that, you probably didn't. Now I forget things sometimes, but most cases, if I think about it for a minute, I'm like, no, I did not order this. And case in point, this week alone, I feel like the universe was helping me prepare for this presentation. This week, I received in the mail a colon cancer test that I didn't order. It said it came from my insurance provider and that it was sent to me, but that is not the case. My insurance provider did not send me anything. And so this scam collective was not only looking for my information, they were looking for my genetics. So that's the level of scams that we're surrounded by. And so if my first thought was, I didn't order this, but I can't imagine the number of people who just blindly said, oh, this came from my insurance provider, so I must do it. So I want you to think too, that you as an author, as an authorpreneur, that's what we're here to learn, to be business owners and authors. You are in charge. You don't have to respond to something to be nice. You don't have to fill out the thing because it said the insurance provider gave it to you. You can call your insurance provider and ask questions. You don't have to blindly do things. So don't rush your decision because you're desperate. Like if you're looking at a marketing, these salespeople can be pushy. So, and they'll be using all types of tactics that make you feel like, if I don't do this now, this sale ends by the end of this week, you have to make a decision, or if you don't buy now, you're losing out or whatever. But if they're making you feel that way, they're not going to be good to work with to begin with. So just make sure that you're taking your time. And if you don't feel like something is right, you are waiting until you have the information to make you feel right. And ask questions. You are within your rights to ask questions, whether someone's selling you something or whether you received an email. I received an email through my other business asking for information on a service I provide. And it wasn't really a service we actually provide. So I replied kindly, like you would as a business owner. And then I got an automatic reply that made it clear that it was not actually a real request. So you do the best that you can. And these scams will come through looking very real. And they can use a combination of fake email addresses and even ones that are real, that they've passed through some other, I don't know technically how this works, but someone could grab my personal email and email people with it somehow. So you want to be asking for verification, ask about cost, ask about who's doing it, what do I get, ask about reviews, all valid questions. And if they can't or won't answer those questions, scam or not, you don't want to work with them. And then terms and conditions. Any valid company has got terms and conditions on their website. They've got terms on their product. They've got things that they can send you. So look for all of these things to help you decide. And I'm going to show you some what they actually look like, and we'll look for these red flags. The other things in emails, what the red flags to look for. So you get an email and it says, oh, here's an invoice for something that you owe, it's due by Friday, whatever. The first thing you want to do is check the from email address. If it looks funny, it looks weird, it's not the actual official email from that company, disregard it or report it in your email thing as spam. So that might look like the actual company's name dot something. So if it's Amazon, it'll say Amazon dot marketing at, and it might be a Gmail account. Amazon is not going to email you from a Gmail account. Most companies won't. I will say I do use my personal Gmail because we are very small, but a larger company, somebody who's largely branded, is not going to do that. And even if they do, then you drop down and check the signature. Do they have a logo, a website, and a person's name and title? If they don't have those things, again, they could be real, but a certain level of professionalism should be found somewhere within the email. If the language is vague, instead of using your name, it says, hello, author. Now, this is fine for a newsletter. It's fine in certain cases. But if it says something that should have your name, I have one that I'll show you. It says Laura Thorne's. Nobody's addressing me like that for real. So that is clearly is a red flag. Red flags, again, don't automatically mean it is not an actual email, but in a lot of cases, it's going to be. And if you see one or more, you're definitely looking at scam. The invoices for things you didn't buy, again, it's all fake. It's not real. Do not feel bad about deleting it, reporting it, getting rid of it. Spelling and grammar issues. Yes, people make mistakes, but if you see a consistent level of things not spelled right, it is likely, and there's some other red flag, it's likely a scam. And then again, no website, no proper signature, that it could be real. Sometimes I get emails from someone who says, oh, I looked you up and I saw that you have an Instagram and I want to help you improve your Instagram account. And they don't have a sign off. Well, possibly they're real. It doesn't mean that they're an actual like evil scam coming through my emails, but do I want to work with someone like that doesn't have a professional sign off or a website that I could look at? Even if there's someone who's a freelancer for hire, they should be able to make a basic website. We do that for our authors, totally free on Google. There are ways to make websites. So there's really not an excuse for anybody who's in a legit business not to have a website. And even further so, not for them to provide some kind of link to reviews, a website, something in their sign-off signature. And then if something sounds too good to be true, could be real. But make sure that those people, you were asking lots of questions and also asking for testimonials. I mean, in some cases you could say, can I talk to one of your prior clients? Like, you own your business and you own the risks and results that you get. And again, sometimes it's all in the way they respond to you. They might not respond at all. And then that they're not worth working with. And sometimes you'll get 2-3 exchanges down the line and find out, I don't think I want to work with these people. All right, so now you've identified that you have a scam. What do you do with it? In a lot of cases, you don't really need to do anything. Just delete it and move on with your life. But you do have within your email host, whether it's Gmail, Outlook, whatever, you can report it. There's also ways to email it to a reporting email. You can, again, find that in like ChatGPT. You can warn others if it looks like your email was hijacked and they actually sent something. You can, we've all seen someone on Facebook say, hey, my stuff got hijacked. If you see this from me, don't accept it. And then leaving honest reviews, if that's an option. Like, sometimes you might get scammed by a real thing that doesn't deliver what it says. If you're able to leave a review, go ahead and do that. And the biggest thing is just move on. I know that I've encountered some people who really scam and spam, drive them crazy and whatever, but there are also filters you can set up in your Google account to move that stuff. So you don't even ever see it, and then move on about your day and work on the goals that you have for yourself and your book.